We can find Christopher Columbus all over America. Across the nation, we can find statues in his honor. Streets and cities are named after him. People gave him his own national holidays, even with a parade. For centuries, Columbus has been celebrated as the brave explorer who discovered the New World. As an international student, I also learned about Columbus in my high school. My high school is an international school under the AP curriculum and was taught by American teachers. In my world history class, we learned that in 1492, Italian explorer Christopher Columbus started his voyage from Europe across the Atlantic Ocean and eventually discovered the New World, America. In my mind, Columbus is always that heroic person who initiated the Columbian Exchange, which brought prosperity to America and raised the living standard of all indigenous American people. Columbus' discovery of the New World creates extensive connection between Europe, Asia, Africa, and America, which still persists today. The Columbian Exchange set off a series of events that profoundly transformed the environment, economic system, and cultural landscape in America and all around the world. Also, this exchange connected almost all of the world through new trade and exchange network. The intercontinental transfer of plants, animals, knowledge, and technology changed the world and interact with new species, tools, and ideas. The Columbian Exchange marked the beginning of a period of rapid cultural change. Before taking this class, this is what I know about Columbus and his discovery of the New World. However, after taking this class, I've learned so much about the history and culture of America and even rethought about the Europeans' influence on it. Columbus' discovery of the New World have always been depicted as a victorious event, marking the beginning of a brand new era. However, the dark side of this part of history has often been neglected, and the Europeans used violence and forces to conquer the New World. This project aims to reveal how the arrival of Europeans affect America both culturally and economically, showing how European colonizers transferred this flourishing continent into a powerhouse for Europe and discussing why this part of history has been neglected. One important primary source that shows what Columbus did to American people is Columbus' letter to Luis de Santiago. For me, the main argument that Columbus is trying to convey in this letter is how flourishing this new land he discovered is. He illustrated an almost utopian-like land that is fertile with gold and resources, with native people that are obedient and easy to control. Since this letter will be eventually read by the kings and the queens of Spain and Columbus' investors, he is talking about all the advantages of this new land. When the royal and the investor in Spain read this letter, they could imagine a new world with countless resources and opportunities they could invest in and colonize. From reading this letter, we can see that Columbus is not only writing about America in a purely objective way to document this new world. Instead, he is talking about how Spain and Europeans can utilize the countless resources on this continent that belongs to the indigenous people. To me, this is the logic of pirates. The reason behind this pirate's logic is the wanting of power of the Spain Empire. At that time, many European countries are expanding and fighting for resources. To them, land and resources means power. Thus, this new world is an excellent place for expand. As Columbus discovered the new land, he thinks about how Spain can control this continent. It shows how Spain came into this new world with the only purpose of conquering, colonizing, and resources. They are not showing any respect to the indigenous population, but rather thinking of enslaving and even genocide. In this new world, Columbus not only tried to enslave the indigenous people and take away their resources, but have no respect for their local cultures. From El Inca Garcilaso de la Vega's The Royal Commentaries of Incas. This book discussed the derivation of the name Peru come from. In this story, the Spanish named Peru based on one random word that an indigenous person said, and he said Peru entirely because he was afraid that the Spanish would hurt him. To my knowledge, naming a country is a serious task, especially if you're naming other people's nation as a colonizer. Here, the Spanish didn't know and show any respect to the indigenous people from Peru and asked what they want to name their country, but instead named this country by a random word. I am saddened to see how the Spanish mistreat the indigenous people and how helpless they faced the Spanish colonizer. This is what Columbus did to America, and many more. It is shocking to learn about those hidden parts of history for the first time in this class. However, this makes me wonder why the brutal part of the history haven't been taught in my high school, which makes many people unaware of this part of American history and still look at Columbus even as a hero to America. Most American and international schools around the world are under the AP curriculum. One AP course that covers American history is AP World History. Let's look at the syllabus of this course. We can clearly see how from the syllabus that the collegible writes, neglecting the brutal part of Columbus' discovery and colonization of America. Inside the syllabus, AP have provided some key concepts teachers should pay attention on. Under one key concept that discusses the interconnection of the Eastern and Western Hemisphere made possible by transoceanic voyaging, transformed trade, and had significant social impact on the world. Here, there is absolutely no mention of how the Columbus treat indigenous people and take away their local culture. When the AP talks about Columbus, the first thing they mention is that the new connection between the Eastern and Western Hemisphere resulted in the exchange of new plants, animals, and disease known as the Columbian Exchange. Although the Columbian Exchange is a significant historical event that indeed have a long-lasting influence and positive impact to the world, it is not a reason to overlook or simply just ignore the dark side of this history, making the exchange possible. And the second thing they mention is that Spanish sponsorship of the voyage of Columbus and subsequent voyage across the Atlantic and Pacific dramatically increased Europeans' interest in transoceanic travel and trade. Not a single word discussed the brutal part of history. Since a vast majority of American students will learn about this course in high school, it is extremely important to show all aspects of the history. Moreover, if we look at Khan Academy, a common complementary self-learning website, mostly for AP-related courses, in its World History session, when it discussed Columbus' discovery of the New World, same as the AP World History syllabus. They all put an emphasis on the Columbian Exchange and how this exchange benefited America and the world. AP teachers that are responsible for writing the AP World History syllabus are all experienced teachers or expert historians. It is unlikely they haven't studied the complete history of Columbus' discovery of America and how Columbus treated the indigenous people. Why, even the AP, the advanced placement, one of the most fundamental American high school curricula, is trying to hide this part of history. Also, let's look at the book Keywords for African American Studies when it discussed the concept of colonialism. It used vague and theoretical terms in describing colonialism, but even intentionally overlooks the brutality and detrimental impact that colonialism creates. Although it is hard for right now to blame this mistake on a particular person, but the absence of this part of history relatively shows a systematic neglection of a part of history that the European descendants in America that they are ashamed of. The winner writes the story. This sad but realistic truth happened throughout the past and still persists today. However, in today's world, we have the opportunity to speak up for the reality of history. For non-Native American people, many of us don't know about this history, or some of us even choose to hide it. Yet, for American people, Native American people, this dark side of history has never been forgotten. Look at this interview about a Native American's reaction to Christopher Columbus. Everybody expressed anger and frustration toward what Columbus did to their ancestor.
Invader. So he's not a good figure to the Native community.
It's the start of a lot of pain.
Christopher Columbus.
Evil. Pure evil.
Even one interviewee wept during the interview when she heard the name Columbus. As non-Native Americans, we can never understand the pain that they suffer. Nevertheless, it is critical for the educated to rethink and recognize every aspect of this part of history. In the interview that ABC News conducted with a professor from Colorado State University School of Education during Columbus Day, they discussed the importance of celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day rather than Columbus Day. During the interview, this professor pointed out that
Indigenous Peoples Day is critically important because it offers an opportunity for us to rethink, particularly as educators, to rethink how we teach what some have characterized as a sanitized version of the arrival of Columbus in the Americas and the impact that his arrival had on Indigenous peoples.
in the end, I want to say, if we cannot change the past, let's change our future. Thank you.